Welcome to a play-by-play review. I'm your host, Henry, and I'm going to try and get this done quickly just because I have more stuff to do, and I've already lost my mind going through Meridian Super Metroid. And I also checked back on a few things and found out that I just completely missed getting the Spazer in that, which is annoying because that would make things a lot easier. I'm a little frustrated about that. But yeah, that is for another day. For now, this is back to football. Before we get started with baseball that's coming up in just a couple days. So we will move on to the AFC East, switching conferences from the National Football Conference over to the American Football Conference. And we'll start out with the Buffalo Bills. So we'll go Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots, I think is how it should go. Actually, no, it might be New England, New York. It's actually, no, it'll go Patriots, then Jets. I'm pretty sure. I think that's how it goes alphabetically. And I need to pull up one more tab now that I think about it. I got to pull up that Pro Football Reference tab. Very, very helpful. It should actually tell me. Yeah. So we're all good. So we'll start out with the Buffalo Bills. And once again, they're coming off of another playoff loss. I actually don't remember off the top of my head where they lost in 2024. They lost to, because they made the postseason, right? They were, what did they finish in 2024? Yeah, they were 13-4. So they definitely, yeah. Who did they lose to? Yeah, they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Right, yeah, because that was the tush push that they didn't convert on like a 4th and 1. That was that one. So yeah, they're coming off that game. It was definitely, things weren't looking amazing for, to say the least. It was also going to be their final season in Highmark Stadium. How long have they been? How long have they been there? I actually don't remember. Since 1973. And yeah, so it's now, I don't know if it's been demolished yet, but they're building new Highmark Stadium right next to it. It is under construction, I believe. And it should be open by season start, I'm pretty sure. So that'll be good for Bills fans there. But that is for next year. For this year, no, that is actually for this season. For this past season, for last year, actually. My sense of time was a bit off. In terms of free agency, because we can start off with that. The Bills did bring in a good bit, I will say. Because some of the guys they brought back. So the biggest contract they gave out to was Josh Palmer, wide receiver, bring him over from the Los Angeles Chargers at 3 years, $29 million, which I forgot was even a thing, to be honest. I guess I remember him catching some passes. Actually, how much did he? I'm going to skip ahead to the stats real quick because I legitimately do not remember if he did anything. Yeah, he did not do much. Just looking at his stats right now. I did not realize they gave him this much money. That is, wow. Okay, that was not a good contract. The second big one was Michael Hoecht, Hoecht, Hooked, maybe? Hooked? I don't know. Defensive end from the Rams. They also brought over Joey Bosa from the Chargers. So a lot of LA expatriates, so to say. Or, well, expatriates is expats. There we go. Still, anyway, former LA players. They brought over Joey Bosa on a 1-year, $12 million deal, and he was whatever. I don't know how well Howecht, however you pronounce his name. Don't know how well he did. They also brought over Larry Ogunjobi, re-signed Ty Johnson, brought back Tre'Davious White, which is pretty neat, even if I feel like Trey White had a solid-ish season. Brought back Damar Hamlin, Reggie Gilliam, brought over Elijah Moore, Dane Jackson, Derek Forrest over from the Commanders, which is kind of nice. Fedarian Mathis as well for like a solid second. I don't think he actually played. Did he play in the regular season for them? I'm just looking at the list right now. Complete bust of a pick by Ron Rivera right there. Good old second round bust. Another Rivera whiff. Anyway, I'll stop ranting about Ron Rivera. Anyway, yeah, they also brought over. When did they bring over Laviska Chenault? I didn't remember that. He is Must have practice squad only. Because I was saying I don't remember him playing in the regular season. But yeah, there's a lot of like smaller signings. Not too many like huge ones. Actually, I think just signed for Brandon Cooks. I think about midway through the season, kind of early on through the season after the Saints released him. So it was a lot of like plug-in holes at that point. They lost Amari Cooper to retirement. I think they brought him in. When did they bring him in? They brought him in. Well, they had him in 2024, and I think they kept him, and then he went to the Raiders and then retired. They lost Micah Hyde to retirement. He had been on the team since 2017, so he was a veteran of the defense there at safety. A couple other ones. They lost Von Miller, big kind of miss of a signing there, but I feel like nothing too huge happened. They also traded away former first-round pick Kaiir Elam, who's a massive bust for them, first-round pick in 2022 at cornerback. Just was not good at all. Had like a play or two here in like the playoffs more so than anything else, but was not good. They also lost Rasul Douglas, so big kind of talent drain in the secondary, which is why when they go into the draft, they went with Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky at cornerback at pick number 30. Who I believe was injured for a good chunk of his rookie year, unfortunately. He was, I don't remember exactly, but he missed a decent number of games, I feel like. Outside of that, I don't think they had too much of a successful draft. None of the names stand out to me when I'm looking at the draft. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 picks from the looks of it. Basically all defense outside of a tight end in the 5th and wide receiver in the 7th. But so I guess that's kind of why, because you usually don't see too many defensive players get a ton of attention in the media. But even still, it was I don't know. It just didn't feel like the Bills had a great draft. Looking back on it, almost a year later, but maybe not. I'm not the best when it comes to evaluating that sort of stuff. Going into the regular season, just gonna kind of keep speeding along right here. So they went 1-2 in the the preseason. They lost to the Giants and the Bears, and then won against the Buccaneers to go into the regular season. And then they started out the regular season on, I believe, Sunday night. Almost certain it was Sunday night. It was Sunday night. It was against the Ravens at home, and this is one where they went down big. In the game, they were down 40-25 against the Ravens, and then the Ravens pulled one of their usual choke jobs, including a Derrick Henry fumble, and the Bills would actually come back and win 41-40. It was really big, so they would advance to 1-0 in an absolute delight of a game. That was a really fun way to kick off the season on Sunday night, really fun way to kick off Sunday Night Football with that one. It was really good. Week 2 saw them go into New York to face the division rival Jets, where they completely demolished them 30-10, which was not super surprising. James Cook was already starting to look pretty good. Week 3 against the Dolphins was kind of the same. It was a 31-21 victory. So, that defense wasn't quite as good against them as they were against the Jets, but, still very, very easy win there. Week 4 against the Saints, so pretty soft schedule as the Ravens game to start out. They would crush the Saints 31-19. So it was pretty good start to the season so far. They would actually then go play host to the New England Patriots, who were, we'll get to the Patriots in a little bit. But this is on a Sunday night game as well. And would actually lose this game. This was kind of early sign of things to come for the season, and they would lose this game. It was a close game, but they would lose 23-20. And yeah, the Patriots were definitely making some noise, but the Bills were, they're still 4-1 at that point. They then somehow lost to the Falcons. I'm still not really sure how this happened, but they went to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I guess. I don't think did they call that the Superdome? Actually, I don't remember exactly. Let me see. I think it's just Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I feel like they called it the Superdome once, but maybe not. Because I know the Superdome, like the Caesars Superdome is in New Orleans. But I feel like, I don't know. Anyway, they went into Atlanta and got completely wrecked. Like, it was kind of embarrassing because the Falcons defense was just making Josh Allen's life a nightmare. And yeah, it was bad. So they lost 24-14. Then they had their bye in week 7 to kind of reset. Then they took their anger out on the Panthers, destroying them in Carolina 40-9 to go to 5-2. Then they would go up against the Chiefs, and any Bills-Chiefs game is always really fun to watch. This one was no exception. They would actually win this one in Buffalo 28-21. Maxwell Harrison, who was in this game, had an interception against Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, it was always good for them to beat the Chiefs. I know Bills fans always at this point, the Chiefs are like one of their biggest rivals, like even more so than probably the Jets and the Dolphins, I'd say, because given all the playoff losses to them over the past couple of years. So after that, they faced up against the Dolphins and would actually lose this game by a lot. Actually, I'm not really sure how this happened either. They lost this one 13-30, I should say. I guess 30-13, 13-30, whatever you want to call it. But it was like AFC East teams going into Miami and suddenly just completely collapsing. It happens to Patriots a lot during Belichick's days. It happened to Bills here as well. It was very, very strange to say the least, given the state of the two teams. They bounced back after that, going to 7-3 after beating the Buccaneers in a big old shootout at home, 44-32. Let's see, did I miss any primetime games? No, the Patriots game was a Sunday night. Week 3, the first Dolphins game was a Thursday night game. I actually do not remember that being a Thursday night. And then after that, were there any primetime? No. Caught up. No, we're all good. Next one actually would be a primetime game. The Week 12 matchup in Houston was a Thursday night game. And this is one where the Texans defense was also, popping off and did a good job. It's like they seemed to struggle a little bit, the Bills did, against like really aggressive defenses. And the Texans defense was, given Bills some nightmares here. They would lose 23-19. And at that point fall to 7-4. Then they would go on a bit of a winning streak after that. They would next go up against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh and win that one 26-7. And this was at this point, Pittsburgh was not having a good time. This was like kind of in that stretch, it felt like, where the Steelers were just having a really rough go offensively. And this game was, one of those games. After that was a big shootout against the Bengals at home. They would win this one 39-34. And yes, Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen. You're going to usually expect offensive fireworks from that, essentially. After that was the rematch against the Patriots. This time they would best their division rival in a close matchup in New England, 35-31. But even still, it's like Patriots were, and again, I'll get to them, but they were looking real good. And it was a bit surprising and definitely frustrating a lot of Bills fans that the Patriots were already back. After that came Week 16 against the Browns, and this one was a lot closer than it needed to be. But they would win this one 23-20. And at that point, they would improve to 11-4. So pretty nice record there. They then lost a really low-scoring game against the Eagles in Week 17, 13-12. I think it was really rainy that day from what I remember. It was just, I feel like it was at least. But it was just not a very good game overall. And the Bills would have their losing streak snapped. Then in the Week 18 finale, they would just destroy the Jets again, 35-8. So overall, it was still a very, very solid regular season. A couple surprising losses here and there, but overall it was still really good. James Cook was I think he led the league in rushing yards. I could be wrong, but I feel like he did. Yeah, he did. He did lead the league. Josh Allen was still really good. And there was a lot of optimism for the team and the fan base going into the postseason, since there's no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow, no Patrick Mahomes. So all of the mainstay high level AFC quarterbacks outside of Justin Herbert, really, Like the ones that had been there for a while since like, same time Josh Allen had been around. None of them were there. There was, it was kind of open, very open ended. No one really knew who was going to win the AFC this year, but there was, I think Bills were definitely one of the favorites, it felt like. And they would win a close one against Jacksonville in the wild card round. It was a lot closer than I think Bills fans would have liked. Trevor Lawrence would throw an interception very late in the game, and that would basically seal it. But the Bills were, wasn't their best game played. And unfortunately for them, it got a lot worse the following week in the divisional round against the Broncos, where Josh Allen it's a little weird because the Bills did put up 30 points and it went to overtime. The problem was that Josh Allen also threw, I think, 4 interceptions that game. It was either 3 or 4 interceptions plus that incredibly costly fumble before halftime where he was trying to do way too much and basically fumbled and set up the Broncos with prime field goal position to give them an extra 3 points before half. It was really bad. The defense also was not having a good night or day. Actually, this was during the day. But it was not good. It was not good at all. And it actually resulted in the firing of Sean McDermott by owner Terry Pegula, who admitted that it was this loss that did him in. That convinced him to fire Sean McDermott. And he has since replaced him with offense coordinator Joe Brady. If I remember correctly, that's his name. Yeah, Joe Brady. Joe Brady and Joe Barry are 2 very different coaches. One's offensive, one's defensive. But anyway, we'll get a little bit more into Terry Pegula in just a sec. I'll go over the little press conference after. Then I'll go to the individual awards. Then go over to how they're looking currently. So there was during that post game press conference or the day after or whatever, it was a couple of days after when they had fired Sean McDermott and Pegula and Brandon Beane got up and was talking to the media, and it was a terrible time for them. And they got on the subject of Keon Coleman, who was their former, I think it was 2nd round pick actually, 33rd pick in the draft or something like that. And they were talking about him, and he'd been a healthy scratch a couple times that season. He was not playing well, and Pegula and Bean were basically just throwing Keon Coleman under the bus, and we're it was basically just saying that Sean McDermott was the guy who drafted him and not them, and so it's not their fault that he sucked, and it's not their fault the Bills suck and whatnot. It was just really bad all around because there were clips online of during the draft in 2024 of Brandon Beane being pretty insistent on drafting Keon Coleman, so it was a really bad look for the Bills, and they're kind of starting to experience a lot of what Sabres fans have experienced with Terry Pegula for years now. Though apparently the Sabres and the NHL have been on a roll recently. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but they've apparently just been winning games a ton, and it's really strange. But anyway, on to the individual awards and stats all around. So their Bills had 2 All-Pros in 2025. So I guess this past season, Ray Davis, running back, I believe, but also kick returner, made it as a first-team All-Pro as a kick returner. Then James Cook won second-team All-Pro running back honors. I might have been actually not sure who was first-team All-Pro for running back. It was I don't know. Might have been Bijan. Don't know off the top of my head. But anyway, Josh Allen, James Cook, Deion Dawkins, and Dalton Kincaid all made the Pro Bowl. So there was that for individual accolades. Then in terms of stats, it was basically all Josh Allen. Bit of a down year, sort of, kind of, not really, but a little bit. In terms of stats, had 3,668 passing yards, 25 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Let me actually check comparatively. So a little bit less yardage, definitely the last 2 seasons compared to the stretch from 2020 to 2023. He was all in the mid 4,000s range, the 4,300 to 4,500. And then the past 2 have been 3,700, 3,600 in terms of yardage. Touchdowns better than last year. He was No, that's interceptions. More, I was looking at the wrong stat. Touchdowns was slightly less than last year. He only had 6 interceptions to 10 interceptions this year. Anyway. Besides that, in terms of rushing yards, it was James Cook who led the team and NFL with 1,621. Also had 12 touchdowns. Josh Allen had 579 yards and 14 touchdowns on the ground. Ray Davis had 275 rushing yards, no rushing touchdowns. Ty Johnson had exactly 200 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Then Elijah Moore actually had a rushing touchdown and 24 yards total on just on 6 attempts actually. So getting some gadget plays here and there. Then in terms of receiving yards, it was Khalil Shakir who led the team with 719 and 4 touchdowns. Dalton Kincaid 571, 5 touchdowns. Dawson Knox 417, 4 touchdowns. Keon Coleman 404, 4 touchdowns. Josh Palmer 303 yards, no touchdowns. So not a very good contract so far for him. James Cook had 291 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ty Johnson had 2 touchdowns. Tyrell Shavers had a touchdown. Jackson Hawes at tight end had 3 touchdowns. Gabe Davis had a touchdown. They brought him back here and there. Ray Davis had 2 touchdowns receiving. Curtis Samuel had a touchdown as well. So Allen was really spreading the ball around. Definitely did not make fantasy owners happy for trying to find an actual Bills wide receiver who would consistently put up points, but that is also kind of the thing where the Bills do need a number 1 wide receiver essentially, because they don't really have one now that ever since Stephon Diggs left, or I guess they traded him away. Then in terms of defensive statistics, just to go through them real quick, leading sacker, I guess, was Gregory Rousseau, former first-round pick in 2021, I believe, with 7. Joey Bosa had 5. Matt Milano, 3.5. Daquan Jones, 3. Ed Oliver, 3. AJ Epinesa, 2.5. Cole Bishop, Christian Benford, and Michael Hecht had 2. And then Deion Walker, Shaq Thompson, TJ Sanders, Jordan Phillips, and Javon Solomon all had 1. And then finally, Jordan Poyer and Zion Logue had half sack each. In terms of combined tackles, it was Cole Bishop at safety, who led the team with 85. Jordan Poyer had 70. Matt Milano, 67, so on and so forth. Then in terms of interceptions, it was Cole Bishop, who also led the team with 3. Then Christian Benford, AJ Epinesa, Maxwell Hairston had 2. Hairston only played in 11 games, only started 3, according to Pro Football Reference. So yeah, he definitely missed some games here and there. I think he missed all of the postseason as well. And then also Jordan Poyer, Terrell Bernard, Tre'Davious White, and Daquan Jones all had 1 interception. And finally, forced fumbles. Joey Bosa actually had 5, which was nice. Looks like he led the league as well. Cameron Lewis had 2, and then Daquan Jones, Matt Milano, Shaq Thompson, Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, and Michael Hecht all had 1. So now for 2026. They're rolling with Joe Brady as their new head coach. Who did they get their offensive coordinator? I forget. Pete Carmichael, that's who it was. Brought him in, I think, over from Denver. He was the senior offensive assistant in Denver, so brought him over. Former longtime Saints offensive coordinator. Was the offensive coordinator from 2009 to 2023, so yeah, he'd been there for forever. So he's now back to being an offensive coordinator now with Buffalo. They also brought over Jim Leonard from, I think it's Leonard. I'm gonna say Leonard. I think that's how you pronounce it. Also over from Denver, former player as well. Actually played for the Buffalo Bills. Signed with them as an undrafted free agent. Played with them from 2005 to 2007. Then also came back in 2013. Then was bounced around the college ranks in terms of coaching. And then has been on Broncos since 2024 as an assistant coach in the defensive ranks. So this is his first role as an NFL-level defensive coordinator. So we'll see how that goes. In terms of free agency, let me pull this up real quick on Spot Track. That is 2027, not 2026. The biggest contract they gave out was to Bradley Chubb, bring him over the Dolphins at $43.5 million over 3 years. It's a pretty big contract for a guy who has struggled a lot with staying healthy, and his production has declined a lot recently, so we'll see how that goes. They brought over D. Alford from the Falcons at a 3-year, $15.75 million deal from cornerback from Atlanta. I actually don't mind that one too much. Just kind of gets some help in the secondary since they, I believe, lost a couple of guys as well. So they lost like Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin, Jordan Poyer. So a lot of safeties. So we'll see how that goes there. Then a couple of minor ones. They brought over Kyle Allen, CJ Gardner-Johnson, re-signed Mitch Wisnowski, and then also brought over Geno Stone. So definitely, they've already replaced a couple of guys at the safety position in free agency. But the big move they've made so far, which is kind of like pretty early on, was trading for DJ Moore. They also got in a 5th-round pick, but they traded away a 2nd-round pick for DJ Moore. So DJ Moore, he definitely didn't have a great season in in Chicago this past year, all things considered. Like, he definitely put up some numbers here and there, but I think most people remember him for the lack of effort he showed on the eventual intercepted pass in the playoffs that led to Chicago's doom against the Rams. So hopefully a new scenery, because DJ Moore still probably got a good bit left in the tank. And yeah, shoring up, like, maybe he's not like a wide receiver 1A, but I think he's definitely an immediate upgrade at the wide receiver position. So I like the move a lot for Buffalo there. They currently hold the 26th pick in the draft. They traded away their 2nd rounder to the Bears, but they have a good bit of picks later on as well. So we shall see how that goes. For now, though, let's move on to the Dolphins. So let me switch around things real quick. Just got to do Miami Dolphins. And yeah, I was very annoyed when I found out that I missed the Spazer in Super Metroid, because that would have made things a lot easier. I don't remember, because apparently it's in Brinstar of all places, and I feel like it was kind of early in Brinstar, and I feel like I checked all of Brinstar, and then I don't know, I'm annoyed, very very annoyed, because I'm more just miffed at all the grapple hook stuff I had to do, or grapple beam stuff I had to do in this past stream. That was really frustrating, because I do not like the grapple beam in Super Metroid. It does not control well. But anyway, Miami Dolphins. They were getting kind of towards the end. It was getting to the breaking point, essentially, of the McDaniels and what's his face? Chris Greer regime, essentially. It hadn't been great. They went 8-9 the previous year, and it was just very mediocre. It felt like they showed flashes. You know, they put up 70 points against the Broncos back in 2022, I think, and maybe it was 2023, but I'm pretty sure it's 2022. Maybe it was 20. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, the highs had been there, but they just completely faltered by the time it got to late in the season. You know, the Dolphins couldn't play in the cold and whatnot. Tua's also had been dealing with a ton of injuries over his career, so it was not. Things were bleak, I'd say. So it was real make or break type of season for Miami, and unfortunately for them, didn't go all that well. But we'll get to the actual season in just a second, and I will again attempt to speed this up. So we will rapid fire through things in terms of free agency and whatnot. So in terms of 2025 free agency, they signed a lot of depth pieces, like a lot of 1-year contracts. I am not going to go through all of them because it's just, wow, it's a lot. The biggest contract they gave out to was James Daniels at guard, or just interior offensive lineman, bring him in over from the Steelers at a 3-year, $24 million deal. The next biggest one was actually re-signing linebacker Tyrell Dodson at 2 years, $6.25 million deal. They also brought over Zach Wilson on a 1-year deal over from the Broncos to be a backup quarterback. And they signed Nick Westbrook-Akine from the Titans on a 2-year, $6 million deal, like slightly less, but it's basically $6 million if you round up, who didn't really do anything. Other than that, they brought over Matthew Judon from the Falcons to hopefully try and do something on for the pass rush. Those real just kind of 1-year prove it kind of deal. He did not really prove it either. Let's see. They also brought over Artie Burns. I didn't realize he was still in the league at that point. Brought over Jermaine Ifedi, and just a lot of small signings, essentially. They went into the draft with the 13th overall pick and selected Michigan defensive end Kenneth Grant, who was, I don't know how much he did. He did play in 17 games, had 2 sacks, only started 5 games. So this is working up a little bit, but didn't make too much of an immediate impact. They also picked Jonah Savainaya in the second round, guard out of Arizona, who I think was actually not very good for them this past season. They didn't have another pick till the 5th round after that, and a lot of various trades here and there. They selected Jordan Phillips, I think different from... I feel like there's another Jordan Phillips in the league, but I could be wrong. Well, there's a Jalen Phillips. I think that's what I'm thinking of, because they had drafted a Jalen Phillips back in a few years back. Although he was at that point, was he still on the Dolphins at that point? Because I know he got traded to the Eagles at the trade deadline. He might have been in Miami at that point. But so I guess they had a Jordan Phillips and a Jalen Phillips. Let's see. Is he listed as a linebacker here or a defensive end? One of the two. Actually, I could probably just look up Jalen Phillips. Hang on. Quick side tangent. Did Jalen Phillips play for the Dolphins in 2025? Yes, he was on the team, and he got traded at the deadline. That's what I thought. So yeah, they had a Jordan Phillips and a Jalen Phillips. Very, very close names. That's why I was confused for a sec. They also took Ollie Gordon, Oklahoma State running back, in the 6th round. He was kind of interesting for a hot second. And then they also picked Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers in the 7th round. He actually got a few playing time moments. I forget if he started week 18, but he was definitely playing towards the end of the season. Anyways, going into the regular season, or going to the preseason, they went 2-0-1. They tied the first game against the Bears, then won against Detroit and Jacksonville. So they proceeded to take that momentum and fall flat on their face in week 1, getting blown out by the Colts. That was, at the time, extremely surprising. They basically just could do nothing to stop Daniel Jones in Indianapolis, and lost 33-8. They then lost a close one to divisional rival New England, 33-27. So the defense was getting off to a horrible start. They then lost to the Bills, 31-21. So 0-3 start for the Dolphins was not good at all. They looked really weak. Their offense was occasionally good, but overall it was not it. That week 3 game was Thursday night. Week 4 was against the Jets, and it was in Miami, and it was a Monday night game. It was actually a Monday night doubleheader, and this is one where Tyreek Hill went down with a season-ending knee injury. It looked really bad, and it was not a very pleasant game to watch. They would actually win this game, though, 27-21. So it was looking to start turning things around, which they did not, as they would lose to the Panthers 24-27. In Carolina. Then they lose to the Chargers 29-27. Then they lose to the Browns 31-6. So it was bad. They were 2-7, or no, that's a bit later, so spoilers. But no, they were 1-6 at that point. And it was bad. It was really, really bad. Tua was not looking great. Nothing was looking great, to be honest. It was not good. They bounced back slightly, demolishing the Falcons 34-10, because the Falcons are just a mystery box. They then got demolished by the Ravens 28-6. Then they would actually beat Buffalo, as we saw earlier, 30-13. So it was real random at what Miami team would show up at that point. They would then beat the Commanders in Madrid 16-13 in a really ugly game that went to overtime. So they were 4-7 going into their Week 12 bye. Then they would actually rattle off a couple more wins, beating the Saints 21-17, going to 5-7. Then the Jets 34-10 to improve to 6-7. Nice. I guess that's not nice. That's 6-9. 6-7 is the brain rot. And it still wasn't great. They were pretty much out of playoff condition or contention at this point, even with some of the bounce backs. Week 15 against the Steelers was a 28-15 loss, Week 16 was a 45-21 loss to the Bengals. So, now they're 6-9, so pretty nice there. And yeah, it was just kind of rock bottom at that point. Chris Greer, their general manager, also basically fired himself about halfway through the season. And so week 17, I forgot to mention that when I was going through, but yeah, that happened. Week 17 against the Buccaneers was a 20-17 victory. Then week 18 against the Patriots was a complete and utter loss, 38-10. About a day or two later, a couple days later, Mike McDaniel was fired. And yeah, it's just really, really underwhelming season for the Dolphins. They have since released Tua Tagovailoa, and well, they actually have a new quarterback. They signed with Malik Willis in free agency to a much cheaper deal. Though they just have so many players that that they paid a lot of money to, and just aren't on the team anymore. That they have just an insane amount of dead cap space. I think it's the most in the league and most in league history. So they just didn't have a ton of room to work with. But they have no more Tyreek Hill. I think he's just a free agent. Obviously cutting Tua loses a ton of money because of his contract. They also losing Bradley Chubb as well. And just a lot here and there. So there's just big old talent drain. They also just traded away Jalen Waddle to the Broncos for a first-round pick and some others. So, they brought in Malik Willis on a 3-year, $67.5 million deal. But other than that, it's literally all 1-year, low-budget contracts. They re-signed Greg Dulcich. They brought over Zane Gonzalez, Lonnie Johnson, Bradley Pinion, Riley Patterson. Re-signed William Gay. Brought over Josh Uche, Charlie Heck. Let's see who else. Tutu Atwell, who I think is their wide receiver one at the moment. Jalen Tolbert as well. Just a lot of Dolphins are going to be bad this year. Essentially, is kind of what I'm getting around to. They have hired in terms of coaching and stuff. They've hired Jeff Hafley over from the Packers at former defensive coordinator. Now bringing him in as head coach, and also hired Packers, I think, assistant general manager John Eric Sullivan. Let's see, he was vice president of player personnel most recently for the Packers, but had been working with them in various different roles since 2004. So getting his first general manager gig. In terms of individual stats, actually, I'll end off with that actually, just to switch things up. But yeah, draft-wise, they have the 11th and now 30th pick overall in the first round. They have the 43rd pick in the second round, then 4 picks in the third round, actually. So, trading away a player certainly helps. Then 1 pick in the 4th, and then a pick in the 5th, and a pick in the 7th. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 7 picks in the top 100. So, even if the Dolphins don't have a lot of talent on the roster at the moment, they have a lot of talent available for them to pick in the draft. They'd brought in Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think they'd signed him that year and then traded him away to the Jets for basically nothing. Very strange. First time also in NFL history that players had been traded away from the same team twice. Since Minkah initially got traded to the Steelers. So he was drafted in 2018 by the Broncos, then got traded away to the Steelers midway through 2019 for a first-round pick. That became, I think that was the pick they used on Noah Igbenogany, if I remember correctly, in 2020. It was either that or Austin Jackson, one of the two. It was because they had 3 picks in 2020 in the first round. It was Tua, Austin Jackson, and Noah Igbenogany. I do not remember which one the Steelers picked, but because the Steelers were 9-8, I think, at that point, but missed the playoffs, it would be, I think it was around the range that they picked Noah. But anyway, slight side tangent there. We'll go over individual stats to end this off here. So, I forgot to read out the team offense and defense for the Bills. Let me do that real quick. Very quick backtrack to the Bills. So Bills offense was 4th in points and yards, points for and yards gained. Then their defense was 12th in points allowed, points allowed, and 7th in yards allowed. Now for the Dolphins, their team was their offense was 25th in points scored and 26th in points allowed. Their defense was 24th in points scored and 22nd in points allowed. So, or 22nd in yards allowed. So yeah, not great either way there. In terms of individual performances, Tua. All right, did they have any Pro Bowlers or anything like that? I forget. They had inside linebacker Jordan Brooks actually was first team All-Pro. I didn't realize that actually. Former Seattle first round pick in the first round of 2020 actually. Ironically enough. Then center Andrew Brewer was a second team All-Pro, and Devon Achane at running back made the Pro Bowl. Anyway, back to passing yards. So Tua, who played in 14 games, started all 14, had 2,660 yards with 20 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. Not really that good there. Then Quinn Ewers, who played in 4 games, started 3 of them, had 622 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Not really eye-popping whatsoever there. So he's going to be serving as the backup to Malik Willis at this point. In terms of rushing, Devon Achane led the league with yards per attempt at 5.7, had 1,350 yards, rushing yards, and 8 touchdowns. Behind him, it was not much. Jalen Wright had 288, 2 touchdowns. Ollie Gordon had 199, 3 touchdowns. Malik Washington had 110 and 1 touchdown. And other than that, not really much. Tua had 43 rushing yards, and not much outside of that. In terms of receiving, it was Jalen Waddle who led the team with 910 and 6 touchdowns. Devon Achane had 48 and 4 touchdowns. Greg Dulcich had 335 and a touchdown. Malik Washington had 317 and 3 touchdowns. Darren Waller actually, when he played, he only played in 9 games. I actually completely forgot he was on the team. Played in 9 games, started 3 of them. He actually had 6 touchdown catches on just 283 yards. So he was like kind of a strange, but actually kind of a decent bounce back season. Tyreek Hill, who only played in the 4 games before getting injured, didn't even get to complete that 4th game, had 265 yards and a touchdown. So, he plays in a full season. This could be a bit different, but unfortunately he does not. Nick Westbrook-Akine, who had that, not a big contract, but, it was kind of I think they expected a lot more from him because he played in 15 games, only started 3, had 89 total yards and no touchdowns. Not great there. Then in terms of defensive statistics, their leading tackler was Jordan Brooks. No surprise he gets the All-Pro nod. Led the league with 183 combined tackles and 99 solo tackles, leading in both. So, it's tackling machine there. No surprise he gets the inside linebacker nod because I think, inside linebackers, you don't usually see them get too many sacks or interceptions. They're just kind of like, they're just there to make tackles a lot of the time and just mess stuff up, essentially. In terms of sacks, it was Bradley Chope who led the team with 8.5. Zach Seiler had 5.5. Tyrell Dodson 5. Chop Robinson 4. Jordan Brooks with 3.5. So it was, still pretty good there. Jalen Phillips with 3 before he got traded. Kenneth Grant 2. Willie Gay 2. Zeke Biggers had, fantastic name by the way, 1.5. Minka Fitzpatrick, Rasul Douglas, Ifeatu Melifonwu, that's what it is. Benito Jones all had 1, and that's actually it. There you go. In terms of interceptions, Rasul Douglas led the team with 2, and then Tyrell Dodson, Minka, Melifonwu, Jack Jones, Ashton Davis, Jason Marshall, and Ethan Bonner all had 1. And then finally, forced fumbles, 2 for Jack Jones and Bradley Chubb, then 1 for Rasul Douglas, Tyrell Dodson, Minka, Ashton Davis, Chop Robinson, Jordan Brooks, and Dante Trader. And I think that will do it for the Dolphins. So we'll go to New England next, because I think they're before New Jersey, or I guess New York Jets. Because it's new, then E, then new, then Y. So yeah, New England Patriots are up next, and they did have quite the season in 2025. Made it all the way to the Super Bowl, actually. Did not win it. Did not win it in the slightest. As I said last week, they got destroyed by the Seahawks in that Super Bowl. But still, really good season for them. All things considered. I think I accidentally pressed the Windows key and it made my computer angry. So yeah, this was coming off. They're coming off of a really bad season. under Gerard Mayo, who was promptly fired. They replaced him with Mike Vrabel, who I thought was a great hire. Brought back Josh McDaniels at offensive coordinator. Their defensive coordinator was Terrell Williams, though actually wasn't really, because Terrell Williams had, I think, a family issue or health. I forget exactly what happened. But he was, it was a medical condition, and did not actually return to the team for the entire season. So it was linebackers coach Zach Kerr was really the actual defensive coordinator. I think Terrell Williams is fine. Like, he's recovering and all that. I don't know if he's still coaching or whatnot. But so right now he's listed as assistant head coach. So I think Kerr has been promoted to defensive coordinator, pretty sure. But it's good. It's just good that he's all right. You never mess with health scares, and that's just never good there. But anyway, in terms of free agency, let's see, where can I go for that? I can go here. They're big. They had one of the really good and really good signings. They actually had a couple big signings, or like not a couple. They had a lot of big signings because they had a ton of cap space to work with. The biggest one was Milton Williams, who was coming over from the Eagles at defensive line. And he was kind of had a really, really good postseason, and wasn't one of the premier names on that Philly defense, since he wasn't a first round pick, and a lot of them for that Super Bowl winning defense for the Eagles, it was Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Quinyon Mitchell, then also Nakobe Dean. Then you also get Cooper DeJean and Zach Bond were like the guys that everyone talked about. But Milton Williams made a name for himself in that postseason and got a huge payday. 4 years, $104 million contract for a defensive lineman is really big. It certainly paid off because Milton Williams had a really nice season for the Patriots. They also gave a 3-year, $63.5 million deal to Stephon Diggs, though I think only that first year was guaranteed. They also gave a 3-year, $54 million deal to Carlton Davis at cornerback, bringing him in for the Lions. Gave a 3-year, $43.5 million deal to Harold Landry as sort of linebacker, edge rusher, like off-ball pass rusher type of guy. Brought him in from the Titans. I really like that move because relinks with Mike Vrabel, and I liked Harold Landry. I always thought he was pretty good. They also brought over Robert Spillane at linebacker. 3 years, $33 million deals from the Raven. 3 years, $33 million deal from the Raiders. Brought over Morgan Moses at tackle from the Jets, former Redskins pick back in like 2014 or 15. So I always like Morgan Moses because of that. But 3 years, $24 million deal. Brought over center Garrett Bradbury on a 2-year, $9.5 million deal from the Vikings. Mac Hollins on a 2-year, $8.4 million deal from the Bills. Brought over Josh Dobbs on a 2-year deal to back up Drake May. Made a pretty under the radar signing, or really not expected to be much type of signing for Kayvon Chason, former Jags 2020 pick, who completely flamed out with the Jags. Brought him in over from the Raiders, and he wound up having an excellent season. And then some other moves here and there, but yeah, there was a lot of really nice moves from the Patriots. They lost a couple of guys like Dietrich Wise and Jonathan Jones to the Commanders, but overall they definitely gained a lot more than they lost. Brought over Christian Ellis, or brought him back, I guess, at linebacker, so it was pretty good. Just really, like, they were one of the teams that really hit it out of the park in terms of free agency. Just got a whole lot better. They definitely lost. They lost a couple of phases here and there, like Juwan Bentley and Sione Takitaki. But overall, it was pretty good. In terms of the draft, they had the 4th overall pick, picking LSU offensive tackle Will Campbell, who was, he made a really impassioned speech where he's, he's going to fight and die for his quarterback. You're getting hyped. It was pretty cool. They also picked Ohio State running back Travion Henderson in the 2nd round at pick 38. And outside of that, Josh Farmer in the 4th round of defensive tackle. I feel like he had a pretty nice season, if I remember correctly. Could be wrong, but I feel like there was there. And then they also had Washington State wide receiver Kyle Williams, who I don't think really did much. But yeah, he has 10 catches for actually 209 yards, 3 touchdowns. So more than I remembered. But yeah, still, I like the draft for the Patriots. I like the Will Campbell pick, even if he didn't have a great postseason, but we'll get to that in just a sec. In terms of the preseason, just to roll right through, and again, I'll speed things up. I'll just really breeze through the regular season for the Patriots and for the Jets as well. In terms of the preseason, they would beat the Commanders and the Vikings and lose to the Giants. Then in week 1, they would start out actually losing to the Raiders. Remember that? They would just kind of faltered a little bit in that game, losing 20-13. They would bounce back with that win over the Dolphins, 33-27. They would then lose to the Steelers, 21-14 at home. So 1-2 start, things, I think looked better than they did under under Mike Vrabel than it did with Gerard Mayo, but it was still a little shaky. Like they turned the ball over, I think, 5 times in that Steelers game. So it was, I don't think people were really expecting what wound up happening, as they would win against the Panthers 42-13, then win against the Bills 23-20, then win against the Saints 25-19, then win against the Titans 31-13, then win against the Browns 32-13, then beat the Falcons 24-23, then beat the Buccaneers 28-23, then beat the Jets 27-14, then the Bengals they beat 26-24, then they beat the Giants 33-15. Then they had their bye in week 14, so that was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 game winning streak. So that's pretty good, to say the least. Pretty good. Drake May was having a really good season. It took them a while to finally start using Travion Henderson. They were really insistent on mostly using Ramondre Stevenson, who wasn't bad, but Travion Henderson was a lot better. And when they started using him, it was oh yeah, he's just the better running back. It was really annoying because I had him on my fantasy team, and yeah. So anyway, after that week 14 bye, they would lose to the Bills 35-31, but then rattle off 3 straight wins to end the season. 28-24 win against the Ravens, 42-10 win against the Jets, then 38-10 win against the Dolphins. And I believe they were the number 1 seed in the postseason, if I remember correctly. No, they were not. Who was it? The Broncos? Might have been Broncos then. Give me one sec. I'm actually forgetting. It was the Broncos. Yeah. Broncos were, Patriots were the 2 seed. Broncos were the 1 seed. That's who it was. So yeah, the Patriots had to go up against first the Los Angeles Chargers at home in the wildcard round, where they would defeat them 16-3. It was one where the defense was playing really well. The offense was not. But they managed to eke by a little bit. The next game against the Texans in the divisional round was kind of the same thing. Their defense was playing insanely well. Their offense did wake up a little bit, but it was really the defense that won them that game. Then against the Broncos in the championship round, the Broncos were going in with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback because Bo Nix broke his ankle on the second to last play of the wildcard round against the Bills. It was really weird. It was a really ugly game, and they would win 10-7. So the Patriots went to the Super Bowl. Definitely one of the easier routes to the Super Bowl in NFL history. And then they would just get absolutely destroyed by the best team in football, the Seattle Seahawks, 29-13. So even still, even with a loss in the Super Bowl, still a really, really, really successful season for the Patriots. One of the best one-year turnarounds out there. And it really, really shows what happens when you actually have a good coach. And, things certainly break your way, whatnot as well. But even still, it's really, really nice. In terms of individual accolades, Drake May and Marcus Jones at quarterback and punt returner both made second-team All-Pros. Marcus Jones, cornerback, but also was really good as a punt returner. Then Drake May and cornerback Christian Gonzalez also made the Pro Bowl, though neither attended because they were playing in the Super Bowl. In terms of individual accolades, or not accolades, statistics, that's what it was, and also team statistics. So the team offense was second in terms of points and third in terms of yards. Their defense was 4th in terms of points are allowed and 8th in terms of yards allowed. So very balanced team, very good team. So not super surprising that they played well. Injuries did definitely hamper things a little bit down the stretch. I know Melvin Williams was out for a couple of games in the in the regular season, and then Will Campbell was playing through an injury through the postseason. But still, it was a really successful team either way. Drake May had 4,394 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Led the league in a lot of statistics in terms of quarterback rating, passer rating, completion percentage, yards per attempt, adjusted yards per attempt, net yards per attempt, and adjusted net yards per attempt. So just a lot of, basically it was very efficient with the football, pretty much. Was second in terms of MVP voting, only behind Matt Stafford. Very close race for that as well. So yeah, really, really good season for Drake May there. Just had his massive breakout campaign. We'll see if he is able to top that in 2026. And then in terms of rushing, it was Travion Henderson who led the team with 911 yards and 9 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson had 603 with 7. Drake May had 450 rushing yards, actually, with 4 touchdowns. Antonio Gibson had 106 yards and a touchdown. I believe he also tore his ACL. I forget exactly when in the season, but he was largely used as like a kick returner. Terrell Jennings had 73 yards and a touchdown, so on and so forth. A couple extra little bits right there, or towards the end. In terms of receiving yards, where is that? It is right there. Stephon Diggs led the team with 1,013 and 4 touchdowns. Hunter Henry had 768 and 7 touchdowns. He had a pretty nice season, not going to lie. Pretty underrated season. Kayshon Boutte had 551 and 6 touchdowns. Matt Collin had 550 and 2 touchdowns. Demario Douglas had 447, 3 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson, 345, 2 touchdowns. Austin Hooper had 263, 2 touchdowns. Travion Henderson, 221, 1 touchdown. Kyle Williams, 209, 3. And then Efton Chisholm had 75 and 1 touchdown. So a lot of spread in the wealth for Drake May as well in the receiving core. But as Patriots have actually released Stephon Diggs at this point, I think partly they might have wanted a bit more. He was a little disappointing with them. And then also he has legal issues hanging over his head at the moment. So Patriots have swapped him out with another wide receiver I'll get to in just a sec. Just want to go over defensive stats here first. In terms of sacks, Harold Landry led the team with 8.5. Kayvon Chason had 7.5, also with a really nice postseason as well. Elijah Ponder with 4. Melvin Williams 3.5. Christian Barmore and Marcus Jones had 2. Also, Anafree Jennings had 2. Then Jalen Hawkins 1.5. Then Robert Spillane, Jack Gibbons, and Del Pettis had 1. Leading tackler was Robert Spillane with 97 combined tackles, and he had 48 solo tackles, though Christian Gonzalez actually had most solo tackles on the team with 54. Christian Ellis had 94 combined tackles, and Jack Gibbons had 81. In terms of interceptions, it was Jalen Hawkins with 4, Marcus Jones with 3, Robert Spillane with 2, and Marte Mapu with 1. Gonzalez actually did not get an interception this year, in the regular season at least. And then finally, forced fumbles. Kayvon Chason had 2, and then Jalen Hawkins, Robert Spillane, Marte Mapu, Christian Ellis, Jack Gibbons, Harold Landry, Jelani Tavai, and Del Pettis all had 1. In terms of free agency in 2026, the big contract that the Patriots have given out is to Romeo Doubs, wide receiver, bringing him in over from the Packers on a 4-year, $68 million deal. They also brought over guard slash tackle, just offensive lineman, Elijah Vera Tucker over from the Jets on a 3-year, $42 million deal. It's a lot of money for him just because Vera Tucker has not been able to stay healthy for most of his career. But when he's healthy, he's good. He just has a lot of injury issues. So this is a lot of money for him, essentially. They also brought over Draymond Jones at edge from the Ravens on a 3-year, $36.5 million deal. Tight end Julian Hill on a 3-year, $15 million deal. Fullback Reggie Gilliam from the Bills on a 3-year, $10.8 million deal. Brought up Kevin Byard on a 1-year deal from the Bears at $7 million. And then a couple smaller deals here and there. They did lose Kayvon Chason to the Commanders in free agency, so their pass rush is going to suffer a little bit. But all in all, I do like the Patriots offseason. I like the Romeo Doubs signing a lot. I think the Kevin Byard signing is not bad either. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but It's pretty good. I like the Elijah Vera signing as well, provided he can stay healthy, but overall, not bad. Then, so they cut Stephon Diggs. They also cut Antonio Gibson, Jelani Divide, Josh Dobbs, and Anafree Jennings. So bit of a roster crunch there, but we'll see. And Patriots still in a pretty nice situation altogether. They also did trade center Garrett Bradbury to the Bears for a 5th-round pick in 2027. So not sure what they're going to do at center yet, but they've obviously got something planned. They currently hold the 31st and 63rd pick in the draft. They actually have a good chunk of picks. They have 12 picks or 11 picks currently. 3 in the top 100 and 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 4 in the 6th, which is interesting. Then 1 in the 7th. Looks like they're kind of also rolling with the same crew. So Mike Vrabel, head coach, Terrell Williams, now the assistant head coach, Zach Kerr, defensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, offensive coordinator. So yeah, that's the Patriots. I felt like there should be more, but I think that's actually it. So now finally on to the New York, I put 2 O's in there on accident, Jets season. Their season was not good. I'm just going to tell you that right now. It's the Jets. But was there really anything to like? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, not really, actually. Yeah, it was really bad. I don't even know how they won 3 games. Spoiler alert, they only won 3 games. I don't even, how did they win games? This team was awful. Anyway, so this is first season under new head coach Aaron Glenn, brought over as former defensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions. General manager Darren Muji was also in his first year. They had gone 5-12 the year before. It was not good. And to address the quarterback position, since they had moved on from Aaron Rodgers at that point, they brought in former Bears first-round pick in 2021, quarterback Justin Fields on a 2-year deal worth $40 million with $30 million guaranteed, on a sort of prove it, we see your upside type of deal. He did not prove it. He was very bad. Brandon Stevens was also their big signing at cornerback from the Ravens on a 3-year, $36 million deal. Outside of that, a lot of smaller depth signings. They brought over Nick Folk at kicker, who actually had a really nice season for them. But outside of that, not much. Because they're dealing with a lot of the fallout cap situation from Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and all that. So they didn't have a ton of room to work with. In terms of the draft, excuse me, I like their first pick. They went with Armand Membu, offensive tackle out of Missouri, at pick number 7, and just pairing him in with pairing up with what's his name, Talisi Fuaga, I'm pretty sure is who it was. I think that's the other offensive tackle they picked in the first round back in 2020. Oh no, never mind. Olu Fashanu. Talisi Fuaga was a different team then. Might be the Saints actually. But yeah, Olu Fashanu is who they paired him with. I'm actually checking for Talisi. Yeah, he was the Saints. Okay, he was Saints in the same draft as Olu Fashanu, just different team. But yeah, pairing Talisi Fuaga up with. Oh no, sorry, I'm a little tired. Pairing Fashanu up with what's his name, Armand Membu. I like that pairing up. Just get the tackle position sorted out, and don't have to worry about it, essentially. They also selected tight end Mason Taylor in the second round, who I don't think really did much. Actually, not too bad. 44 catches, 369 yards, and a touchdown. But overall, it was, yeah. They also drafted Francisco Mauigoa. I'm just looking at it because there's Francis Mauigoa coming up in the draft real soon, and I have no idea if they're related or not. But there's a Francisco and a Francis Mauigoa. Interesting there. I'm just seeing that now. But anyway, outside of that, I don't think too many people were expecting much from the Jets. They would go 1-2 in the preseason, beat the Packers, then lost to the Giants and Eagles. They would then actually play very close game to start out the season against the Steelers, losing that one 34-32. Justin Fields didn't look half bad in that game, but I think it was more the Steelers defense was not playing great that game, essentially. They would get blown up by the Bills in week 2, 30-10. They would lose a close one to the Buccaneers, 29-27. That was the one which had the viral clip of Aaron Glenn. I think it was after Nick Folk hit a field goal really late in the game. He was doing this really funny, really goofy dance on the sideline, where he's really exaggerated strut. Is the best way I can describe it. It was really funny. But they will lose that game 29-27. They will then lose to the Dolphins 27-21. Then lose to the Cowboys 37-22. Then lose to the Broncos 13-11 in Tottenham Hotspur in London. Then lose to the Panthers 13-6 to fall to 0-7 to start the season. So, yeah, that was how it was going. It's not good. They actually beat the Bengals in somehow. I'm not really still sure how this happened. They would win 39-38. So they would go to 1-7 going into their bye. And I believe it was during the bye week was the trade deadline. Let me double check. Yes, it was. Let me just triple checking here. Yes. Because it was, yeah. So it was in between their bye week and their matchup in week 10. They would conduct 2 very big trades, both in terms of their big name first round defenders that had been really good in Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. They would trade away both. The first one was the Sauce Gardner trade to the Colts. The Colts traded 2 first round picks and A.D. Mitchell over to the Jets for Sauce Gardner. Hindsight, probably shouldn't have made this move, but hindsight is 2020. So the Jets get a really nice haul there for Sauce, who they had just paid, handed him out massive extension the offseason before. But I think they're okay with it given the state they're in and getting first round pick in 2026 and especially in 2027, given how much they're hyping that draft class up. And then also A.D. Mitchell actually had a pretty nice tenure for the Jets, former second round pick for the Colts. So yeah, actually, I don't mind this trade at all. The other one was sending Quinnen Williams to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a 2026 second-round pick, Mozzie Smith, a former first-round pick by the Cowboys at defensive tackle, and then also a 2027 first-round pick included as well. So I don't mind that one too much either. I mean, losing Quinnen Williams really sucks for them because he had been a mainstay in their defense since, 2019. And Mozzie Smith is, I don't even know if he's still on the team or not. I don't know if they just cut him. He's just not good, but yeah, they're stocking up. They got 3 picks in the 2027 first round now. So that's pretty good. So, I mean, it's the Jets, so who knows, but they traded away a lot of guys. So to get back to really stock up for the future, and I had no idea what they're going to do quarterback wise. I feel like they signed a quarterback this offseason, but they might not have. Who do they sign? Did they sign a quarterback? No, they haven't. Who's going to play quarterback for them? I don't even know at this point. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Let's see, where did I leave off? I left off at the trade deadline. So coming out of the bye week, they would actually win against the Cleveland Browns 27-20 to go to 2-7. They would then lose to the Patriots 27-14, then lose to the Ravens 23-10, so they're 2-9. They would actually beat the Falcons 27-24 to really mess up the Falcons season. Then they would losing to the Dolphins 34-10, then lose to the Jags 48-20, then lose to the Saints 29-6, then lose to the Patriots 42-10, and the Bills 35-8 to end the season 3-14. Not good at all. I'm still surprised Aaron Glenn has not been fired because of this. They currently hold the 2nd overall pick in the draft. I guess I can just go over that right now. I've seen a lot of people mocking either David Bailey at edge from Texas Tech or Arvell Reese at linebacker from Ohio State. I've seen a lot more Arvell Reese than David Bailey, but I think I think it's been after free agency now that it's seen a bit more uptick in that David Bailey pick, but I think it's probably a good choice between those two, given the sorry state of their defense. But there's decent chance Arvell Reese is going to be a New York Jet come April, 23rd, I think is the draft. Something like that. Yeah, late April, essentially. Otherwise, a lot of change in the assistant coach realms, essentially. I think Aaron Glenn got rid of a lot of his lesser coach type of guys. Just a lot of change here and there. Have Frank Reich currently as their offensive coordinator. Brought him in, former head coach of the Indianapolis Colts and Carolina Panthers. So brought him in there. I actually don't mind the move too much. I think it's better than what they had. They have Brian Duker as their defensive coordinator, was the Dolphins secondary coach and pass game coordinator in 2024 and 2025. Was on the Lions before that as a assistant coach from 2021 to 2023. Was on the Ravens before that and bounced around a bunch. So new look outside of Aaron Glenn, essentially, for the Jets. In terms of free agency, I guess I'll say the individual accolades for after. They did not have any Pro Bowlers or All Pros or anything like that. No one got nominated for anything. In terms of free agency, in terms of 2026, their biggest contract was given out to edge rusher Joseph Osai from the Bengals on a 3-year, $34.5 million deal, which I don't mind at all. They also brought back Demario Davis on a 2-year, $22 million deal. Former pick by them way back when. I don't remember exactly when. Let's see. Can I find him on the roster right now? Demario Davis is right there. He was a 2012 third-round pick by the Jets. Was on the team from 2012 to 2015. Then went to the Browns for 1 year. Came back to the Jets in 2017. Then was on the Saints from 2018 to 2025. So now he is back in the green and white, I guess. He's back with the Jets, essentially. So I don't mind that move too much. They also brought over Kingsley Enagbare from the Packers on a 1-year deal worth $9 million. Brought over Nashawn Wright at cornerback on a sort of buy low deal. Outside of that, a lot of re-signing depth pieces here and there, but otherwise not too much action in free agency for the Jets. I expect there to be a decent amount of action for the Jets in the draft. They also hold pick 16, from the Sauce Gardner trade. So there's definitely a lot they can do as well. They have 2 second-round picks as well, 33, 44. They do not have a third-round pick. Why do they not have it? What do they trade the Eagles for? I'm not sure who that would have been. Anyway, but they have 2 in the 4th round, 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th. So the pretty top-heavy looking draft for the Jets, which isn't too bad. Then finally, to round things out here, stats for the Jets. Their offense was 29th in points scored and 29th in yards. Their defense was 31st in points allowed and 25th in yards allowed. So not good there. Passing game wise, as their quarterback situation was not very good. Justin Fields, who played in 9 games, started 9, threw for 1,259 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Got completely thrown under the bus by owner Woody Johnson during the owners meeting, a little bit before the trade deadline. It's not good at all. Fields wasn't playing well, but that was a scummy move there by Johnson. Tyrod Taylor played in 4 games, played in 6, started 4, threw for 779 yards, 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Then I believe undrafted quarterback Brady Cook started 4 games, played in 5, lost all 4 of those. Threw for 739 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So not really good quarterback play whatsoever. Maybe I guess they might be running. Maybe they run it back with Justin Fields again. I don't know. I don't think they've cut Justin Fields. I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Jets at their quarterback position. In terms of rushing, it was Breece Hall who led the way. They've also franchise tagged Breece Hall. He has 1,065 yards, 4 touchdowns. Justin Fields had 383 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns. Then Isaiah Davis had 236 and 1. Tyrod Taylor had 143 and 1. Braylon Allen had 76 and 1. And then a couple other ones here and there. with some like double-digit rush totals and no touchdowns. In terms of receiving yards, this was really rough because Garrett Wilson led the way. He had 395 yards and 4 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson only played in 7 games. He was injured during that 7th game and was out for the remainder of the season after that. And he still led the team at even only through those 7 games. Next closest was that second round tight end, Mason Taylor with 369-1. Breece Hall had 350 and 1. A.D. Mitchell, who they got at the trade deadline, had 301 and 2 touchdowns. John Mechie had 256 and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Johnson had 197 and a touchdown. Isaiah Williams and Isaiah Davis both had just under 200 yards, no touchdowns. Jeremy Ruckert at tight end had 179 and a touchdown. Josh Reynolds had 101. Then a couple guys here and there with double-digit numbers. Really, really bad receiving core for the Jets. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see them go wide receiver with that 16th pick. Not sure. Don't know if I doubt Jordan Tyson or Mekhi Lemon fall to pick 16, and I don't know if they'd reach for Denzel Boston or Casey Concepcion, because I think they're listed more as late first round picks, but who knows? We'll see how the Jets play it there. In terms of defensive statistics, actually, let me just quickly highlight Nick Folk. He actually had a 96.6 field goal percentage, led the league there. He had a really nice season. The one guy on the team that had actually a pretty good season. I mean, pretty solid, a solid one as well, but Nick Folk was the best player on the team pretty much. Defensive wise, Will McDonald, who I think has been traded, maybe. No, it was Jermaine Johnson, I think, who got released or traded. Will McDonald still on the team. He led the team with 8 sacks. Joanne Briggs had 4. Quincy Williams 3.5. Jermaine Johnson 3, who I believe has been cut since at this point. Let me actually double check on that real quick on both Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson. Will McDonald is a defensive end, I'm pretty sure. Okay, he is still on the team. They traded Jermaine Johnson for Tavondre Sweat. That's what it was. Swapping guys there. Bringing in Tavondre Sweat at nose tackle from the Titans. Then back to the sacks. Jamian Sherwood had 2. Tony Adams, Quentin Williams, Michael Clemens, Braden McGregor, and Kalen Saunders all had 1. And then Harrison Phillips had half sack. In terms of tackles, it was Jamian Sherwood who led the team with 154 combined tackles. Malachi Moore had 101. Quincy Williams, 83. Sherwood also led the team in solo tackles with 71. Malachi Moore, 56. Brandon Stevens, 47 there. In terms of interceptions, it was no one, actually. This was the first time in NFL history, I believe, that a defense did not produce a single interception on the season. It's not good. That's impressive that no one has an interception. So I don't have to cover anyone in that category, actually. In terms of forced fumbles to round this out here, Quentin Williams had 3, and then Brandon Stevens, Malachi Moore, Jarvis Brownlee, Harrison Phillips, Joanne Briggs, and Marcelino McCray Ball all had 1. And I think that is it for the Jets, I believe. Because I cover their 2026 free. Yep, that is everything. So yeah, that will wrap things up for the AFC East recap for this episode here. The Patriots are obviously in a really good situation. Bills, a little shaky, but still solid. Dolphins are clearly rebuilding, but have a lot of room to work, have plenty to work with, more so by next year rather than this year. And the Jets they have a lot of draft capital. I'll just say that right now. They have a lot of draft capital. And yeah, that'll do it. So next stream will be, or not next stream, I still have streaming on my mind. Next podcast episode will be next Tuesday. I'll do the NFC, or not NFC, I'll do the AFC North, I think. I don't know, I need to double check if I did the South or North for the NFC first. Whichever one I did first for the NFC, I'm doing for the AFC next up. Either the South or the North, don't know which one. But anyway, that'll be next Tuesday. There will be no episode this weekend as I'm going to be up at a cousin's wedding. So yeah, obviously I will not really have time to record a podcast there. But yeah, that will do it. As always, I have a YouTube channel. It is Henry the Host, all one word. You can find this podcast here as well as various other videos that I do and streams, including that Super Metroid stream where I was losing my mind in Meridia. That is all on my YouTube channel. Outside of that, though, feel free to, do whatever it is you want to do to like spread the word for this podcast. And thank you very much for listening.